In our earlier slides, we've talked about the first domain or component of emotional intelligence, which is self competence. And the two subcomponents of self competence were emotional self awareness and emotional self management. So that was about the self, right? But emotional intelligence is not just about the self, it's also about how we interact with other people. So let's come to the second domain or second component of emotional intelligence, which is social competence. And within this, we will be talking about two subcomponents. The first is empathy, and the next is about relationship management. So, first, we'll talk about empathy, which is the first component of social competence, but the third competence of emotional intelligence. Okay, well, empathy is a very, very popular term, but often mistaken, often misunderstood. Okay, we often get confused as to what is empathy. Now, basically, when you talk about being an empathic person, what does that mean? It's a capacity to understand or feel what another being is experiencing from their frame of reference. I think this is really important, and that's the difference between empathy and sympathy. Often, when we are observing other people, we try to look at them from our own perspective, right? And because of that, we may judge them, we may negatively evaluate them, right? So the thing is that when we talk about empathy, it means that you're trying to understand another person or the problem of another person from their perspective. So, in a way, empathy is about perspective taking, right? So, trying to look at the world of that person from the point of view, from the vantage point of that person, right? That's empathy. Empathy also means that we are aware about the emotions of other people, the concerns of other people, and the needs of other people. Okay, that means there's a concern, there's a general concern about other people and their emotions. Okay, you value the emotions of other people. It also means that you're able to read the emotions of others. You're able to understand the non-verbal cues such as their facial expression, their body language. Okay, often we know that a lot of the times as there could be a mismatch between your verbal communication and your non-verbal communication. So maybe your friend comes and tells you that you ask her how you feeling today and she says, oh, I'm fine, but when you look at the non-verbal expressions that show that she's not so fine, okay, and maybe something is wrong. So a person who's high on empathy is able to gosh, that is able to understand that there is a mismatch in the verbal and non-verbal communication. So let me ask my friend if she needs any help, because you're better able to understand other people. Empathy has a lot of implications for pro-social behavior, obviously. See, when you look at other people from their perspective, you are able to understand the issues, the problems that they are undergoing, right? And somewhere when you're empathic, you also are able to connect to yourself. So you imagine yourself in such a situation and then understand that yes, if I were in such a situation, I would be requiring help. And therefore people who are high on empathy are also very high on pro-social behavior. They are really, really helpful. Okay, a very important part of empathy is active listening. And I think we really need to focus upon this element. What is active listening? Is suppose I'm talking to you and I'm telling you, one of the worst situations of my life. Okay. And you're looking outside the window, or you're continuously looking at your watch, or you're just listening to what other people are talking about. How would the other person feel? Or how would you feel if somebody was doing such things? So, a very important part of being an empathic person, of being tuned into the emotions and needs of other people, is to not just listen, but listen actively. What is active listening? It means that you are totally connected to that person. You are interested in what that person is communicating with you. Okay. And you show certain gestures which show that you're really listening. Okay. That means you make eye contact. Your body posture is such which shows that you are, attentive and you are listening, right? And you restate the feelings of the person. You make those gestures where you show that you are actually listening to the person. So that conveys your interest in the other person, that conveys your concern for the other person. So that is a very, very important part of empathy. Well, so as we're looking at emotionally intelligent teachers, so now we need to see how empathy, when you're high on empathy, how is that important for teachers? Obviously, like we just talked about, that empathy is about perspective taking. You take the perspective of the other person. So as teachers, I think it's a really important quality. Okay, let's not be so judgmental. Let's not assume things about students that if somebody is not turning in their assignment, they are doing it deliberately. A lot of the times, our students could be in difficult situations, right? So let us leave our vantage point and our way of looking at our students and try to understand students' behavior, students' issues from their perspective. So I think it will be really beneficial for us as teachers being in touch with the needs of the students, right? So this is really important. Often we may have a lot of goals about how we are going to teach this, that, and the other, but if that is not a way in which the students are understanding, I think all our effort will go for waste. So we need to understand the needs, the concerns, the issues of our students. Then this, I think, is really important. Non-judgmental attitude, which means let's not assume, like I said earlier, that if somebody is not turning in their assignment or somebody is coming late, let us not assume that they're doing it deliberately. Okay, if we try to move away from judgment, okay, or let judgment happen automatically, if we move away from that, we will try to talk to the student and try and understand what is the reason why they are behaving like that. Okay, being more accepting towards our students, like I said. So if you take their perspective, if you're non-judgmental, you will be better able to understand your students. You will be better able to accept the viewpoint of your students. And then obviously as teachers, when your colleagues are talking to you, or when your students are talking to you, when the parents are talking to you, I mean, we need to show active listening. Okay, we cannot be looking here and there when somebody is sharing their problem or just sharing anything of concern. Okay, now since empathy is such an important quality to have, how can we develop empathy in ourselves? Well, we should just begin somewhere. We should just try to understand the perspective of other people. And the first thing we need to understand is that the perspective of other people may be different than our own. I think the day we imbibe that in us, a lot of the problems of the world will go away. We'll stop looking at everyone from how we want to look at the world. Okay, so understanding that the perspective of other people may be different from our own perspective. Trying not to be judgmental towards others. So we just discussed this, that being more accepting, being more open, being accepting to the needs and emotions of others. Okay, so just making a beginning somewhere and trying to understand the concerns, the issues which are ailing other people, valuing other people. I think this is really important. All that concern, all that empathy will come only when you value another person, only when you think that they are of significance. Okay, so the first thing that we need to start doing is to value other people, to know that they are as significant as we are. Okay, and a lot of the issues will then be, it'll be very easy for us to be empathic. asking for forgiveness if we have transgressed. I think this is really important, particularly in the context of teacher student relationship. Often we feel that, we have a superior position and the students, they they're not superior as compared to us. So we may feel that the apology has to come from the student, but maybe if you have done something wrong, or if a parent is coming and talking to you and you realize that you've done something wrong, I think it's a sign of humility to go back and apologize. And this will come only when we understand how we would feel if somebody does not understand and somebody transgresses something, somebody says something which is hurtful, how we are going to feel about that. So if we delve into that, we'll be better able to understand other people.